Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayamam namaskrityam namam chamai narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam dato chayam mudirayed nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sanyavati Bhaskatya Deshatarine. So we are reading today from Canto 2, Chapter 9, Answers by Citing the Lord's Version, and we are speaking about verse 37. Etan matam samātiṣṭha. Etan matam samātiṣṭha. Parameṇa samādhinā. Bhavān kalpa-vikalpeṣu. Bhavān kalpa-vikalpeṣu. Na vimuhyati karhicit. Na vimuhyati karhicit. Etan mataṁ samātiṣṭha. Parameṇa samādhinā. Bhavān kalpa-vikalpeṣu. Vimuhyati karhicit. Etan mataṁ samātiṣṭha. Parameṇa samādhinā. Bhavān kalpa-vikalpeṣu. Bhavān na vimuhyati karhicit. What happened? Etan matam samātiṣṭha. Samādhinā samādhinā vimuhyati vimuhyati karhicit. Can you go back and sing essence slave number 2? Input. Etan matam samātiṣṭha. Input. I hope we can get this back. You say input? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Etan matam samātiṣṭha. Parameṇa samādhinā. Bhavān kalpa-vikalpeṣu. Na vimuhyati karhicit. Word by word. Etat, this. Matam, the conclusion. Samātiṣṭha, remain fixed. Parameṇa, by the Supreme. Samādhinā, concentration of the mind. Bhavān, yourself. Kalpa, intermediate devastation. Vikalpeṣu, in the final devastation. Na vimuhyati, will never bewilder. Karhicit, anything like complacence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki. O Brahma, just follow this conclusion by fixed concentration of mind, and no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation. Please repeat. O Brahma, just follow this conclusion. By fixed concentration of the mind. And no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation. Purport. As in the Bhagavad-gītā, 10th chapter, the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, has summarized the whole text in 4 verses, namely ahaṁ sarvasya, prabhavaḥ, etc. So the complete Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam has also been summarized in 4 verses as aham, evāsam, etc. Thus the secret purpose of the most important Bhagavad-gītā conclusion has been explained by the original speaker of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, who was also the original speaker of the Bhagavad-gītā, the personality of Godhead, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa. There are many grammarians and non-devotee material wranglers who have tried to present false interpretation of these 4 verses of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But the Lord himself advised Brahmaji not to be deviated from the fixed conclusion the Lord had taught him. The Lord was the teacher of the nucleus of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 4 verses, and Brahma was the receiver of the knowledge. Misinterpretation of the word aham by the word jugglery of the impersonalist should not disturb the mind of the strict followers of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the text of the personality of Godhead and his unalloyed devotees, who are also known as the Bhagavatas, and any outsider should have no access to this confidential literature of devotional service. But unfortunately, the impersonalist who has no relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead sometimes tries to interpret Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by his pure fund of knowledge in grammar and by dry speculation. Therefore, the Lord warns Brahma, and through Brahma all future devotees of the Lord, in the disciplic succession of Brahma, that one should never be misled by the conclusion of the so-called grammarians, or by other men is a proper fund of knowledge, but must always fix the mind properly via the parameṇa system. No one should try to give a new interpretation by dint of mundane knowledge. And the first step, therefore, in pursuance of the system of knowledge received by Brahmā, is to approach a bona fide guru, who is the representative of the Lord, following the parameṇa system. No one should try to squeeze out his own meaning by imperfect mundane knowledge. The guru, or the bona fide spiritual master, is competent to teach the disciple in the right path with reference to the context of all authentic Vedic literature. He does not attempt to juggle words to bewilder the student. The bona fide spiritual master, by his personal activities, teaches the disciple the principles of devotional service. Without personal service, one would go on speculating like the impersonalist. And dry speculators, life after life, would be unable to reach the final conclusion. By following the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master, in conjunction with the principles of revealed scriptures, the student will rise to the plane of complete knowledge, which will be exhibited by development of detachment from the world of sense gratification. The mundane wranglers are surprised that one can detach himself from the world of sense gratification, and thus any attempt to be fixed in God realization appears to them by mysticism. This detachment from the sensory world is called the brahma-bhūta stage of realization, the preliminary stage of transcendental devotional life, para-bhakti. The brahma-bhūta stage of life is also known as the atmaram stage, in which one is fully self-satisfied and does not hanker for the world of sense enjoyment. This stage of full satisfaction is the proper situation for understanding the transcendental knowledge of the personality of Godhead. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.2.20 affirms this. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhaktiyo gataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, in the completely satisfied stage of life, exhibited by full detachment from the world of sense enjoyment, as a result of performing devotional service, one can understand the science of God in the liberated stage. So this is the first part of the purport today, and most probably tomorrow the second part will be discussed. The verse again. O Brahma, just follow this conclusion by fixed concentration of mind, and no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmitam Gena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Eva Cha Paritadam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So yesterday we finished the Chatusloki. Malati Prabhu was giving class and was finishing these 4 slokas, which we have been discussing for quite a while. So Srila Prabhupada talks about the Chatusloki in Bhagavad-gītā and the Chatusloki in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I just wanted to get through these different slokas today. So if you look at the Chatusloki in Bhagavad-gītā, my computer is not doing today what I would like him to do. Okay, let's do it another way. Hare Krishna. Okay, the Chatusloki start in Bhagavad-gītā 10.8. Ahaṁ sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So Krishna starts to say here that I'm everything. Whatever you see, whatever you experience, everything that's actually me. And everything comes from me, And of course it's related also to Shīcca-upanishad, where it said he's the complete. And whatever comes out of the complete is still complete, and the original is still complete. So Krishna is always complete, and whatever he creates is completely complete. But then directly in the second part of the verse, Krishna focuses on the devotee, So the one who knows him, he engages in devotional service. And that of course means all the realization up to this level. I am the soul, I'm not the body. I am eternal servant, and the one who knows that Krishna is actually the source of everything. If this knowledge is realized, then we are all able to 100% do devotional service, and actually worship the Lord with the full heart, as Krishna says here in 10.8. 10.9. Mach chitta mat kata prana bodhayanta prashparam kantayantas jamam nityam tusyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So that's the next level, that the devotees think of Krishna, do devotional service, but here Krishna refers to the pure devotees, And the pure devotees, as we hear in our scriptures, they are always connected to Krishna. They can always see Krishna in everything. And they are fully devoted to serve him. And of course that gives the ultimate satisfaction we are all hankering for. We all experience that in this material world, whatever we have, whatever we try to do to get satisfaction. It may be a little bit for a short time, but right after it's actually declining, and our mind, of course, is looking for the next level. So Krishna is focused here completely on his pure devotees who are just having service to him on top of their mind. 10.10 Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to me, devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. It refers, of course, to Krishna when we hear that we do one step, he does 100 steps towards us. So if he sees our seriousness, our dedication, and he sees that these devotees are constantly devoted to him, serving him, then in the heart he helps them to understand how they come closer to him. And this meaning, of course, the ultimate goal, to go back to Godhead and not just have association here constantly, but actually be in constant physical association with Krishna, Lord Krishna too. And the last one of the Chatusloki of Bhagavad-gītā, Desham evano akampartam eham agyana yam tama nasyami atma bhavasto yana dipena bhashvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. We are always praying to our Guru and say that with the lamp of knowledge, he actually help us to get rid of all our ignorance, of all our dirts in our heart and so on. So Krishna repeats here the same, It's his special mercy that he's actually destroying with this knowledge all the ignorance in anybody's heart, And he reminds us also again here that pure devotional service is not something we can achieve by our own endeavor. We need Krishna's mercy. The two fingers Mother Yashoda, when she was trying to bind Krishna, is implicated here again, You need my mercy. And I am so open to give my mercy to the devotees, who really want to come to me. Krishna gives, of course, mercy to everybody. It says in Bhagavad-gītā, if somebody wants to actually worship the demigods, he helps them to understand that, okay, they can worship the demigods, and they do that. And hopefully do this sooner or later, maybe next life, they come to another level. But here it says special mercy. So it's another level of mercy Krishna is giving to the devotees. So if I summarize a little bit the four Chatusloki of Bhagavad-gītā, it starts with aham. And we'll see later in the first verse of the Chatusloki of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the word aham is 3 times used. Aham, I am the person. I am the supreme, And our acharyas, of course, explain so many times that Krishna really says there, I am a person. And whatever the Mayavadis and the grammarians, as Srila Prabhupada names them in the Purport, conclude that's completely off, I'm a person, I'm the ultimate call, I'm the Supreme. And he said in the first verse of the Chatusloki, I'm the source of everything. Everything emanates from me. I'm in and I'm out of everything. And then he focused, as I said before, on the devotees, the ones who engage constantly in his service. Devotees always think of him. They gain satisfaction. They dwell on him. They exchange knowledge, pastimes about him. And then, if that's happening, he further helps to get a complete understanding of Krishna, the Supreme. And we know Krishna is so inconceivable. It's so difficult, at least for me in my material world, to understand him. Just the fact that, we are in one universe, one of the smallest ones, and there are universes where Brahma has 1,000 heads, and we have just in Vrindaban so many living entities, the peacocks and the swans and the grass and the trees and the bushes and the devotees and the cows, And he can have a connection with everybody, and he can have a connection with all these living entities and all these millions of universes, how to perceive that and understand that. So he gives them the understanding of Krishna himself, and of course on the path, how to reach him and how be always in his physical presence, And the special mercy. Everything is destroyed in the heart. Every little bit of ignorance is destroyed. And that means also complete detachment, which is specifically emphasized in the Chatusloki of Bhagavatam, which we just will hear afterwards. There, Krishna speaks completely about the detachment. And if every part of the ignorance is destroyed, that of course means there is no detachment left. There is for any material things. There is a complete understanding that the devotees have detachment from any desire of sense gratification. So moving on to the Chatusloki on Bhagavatam, the ones we just discussed recently. Aham, evāsam, evagre, again, aham, I. Nan yat sat asat param, paschat aham yat etakscha, yo vasisyeta sosmi aham. I said before, aham 3 times, Brahma, it is I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the Personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the Personality of Godhead. So Krishna emphasizes again, he is the one who always existed. Existed before, existed after, existed during the creation. And he's the cause of everything, So the acharyas have asked the question here, so did only Krishna exist before and after? But they say that as it is said, when the king actually leaves his city or his palace, it is understood that all the associates of the king, they will go with him, the ministers and the servants, whatever. So the same understanding is here. So Krishna is never alone. His gopas and gopis and all his dear devotees, they're always with him. So that means they existed before the creation of this universe. They exist after the creation of this universe, and they exist also during the past. So it's what can I say? The I contains not just Krishna himself, but also we can say his paraphernalia, his devotees who are actually with him. Okay, next one. Riteritam yat pradityeta nat pridyeta chatmani yat vidyat atmano mayam yat vasho yata damaha. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So when we said on the Chatushloki of Bhagavad-gītā, the devotees, they understood and have realized that everything is Krishna and have constant relation to Krishna, see Krishna in everything. Here Krishna again summarizes, that everything else has no value, and it's just his illusional energy, which gives us the impression that actually it's something real, but actually it's just illusion, Let me go to the next one. Yata mahanti bhutani bhuteshvashvashvanu patishvanti apravishdani tata deshu nateshvaham. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything. So here Krishna reminds us that he's everything, but at the same time he's completely separate, even if he is everything. And it refers, of course, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chinta Veda Veda Tattva. So he's one and different, and Krishna refers to this part. So he exists within everything created, and at the same time he is outside of everything. Last verse. Etavat eva chinasyam tatva chinasunatmanaha anvaya vyatirekhabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. A person who is searching after the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. So Krishna reminds us that we should always be focused to actually come to the realization of the absolute truth, so that all our activities are focused on that. Our mind should be focused on that. And it says in all space and time, whatever it is, directly and indirectly. A short summary of the slokas here again, aham, as it was on the first verse of the Chatushloki of Bhagavatam and the first verse of Chatushloki in Bhagavad-gītā. He is the Supreme Lord who exists before and after, every time, And everything emanates, as referred to Śrī Upanishad, he's the complete, and whatever expands, it's also complete. But he still stays complete, and it's the whole creation. And anything without relation to Krishna has no value. It's just the illusionary energy. He's inside and outside of everything. And who is searching? For me, we have to do this in all circumstances. So it is referred in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 25:102. Bhagavatera sambandha videya prayochana chatushlokite prakatatara kariyache lokshana. The essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, our relationship with the Supreme Lord, our activities in that connection, and the goal of life is manifest in the 4 verses of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, known as the Chatushloki. Everything is explained in those verses. For sure I don't have the realization to go so deep in this Chatushloki to understand the depths of all these slokas. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita we hear that they actually conclude everything, that we are part and parcel of Krishna, that our activities, abhideya, should be focused to our goal, prayojana, so that finally we can go back to Godhead and actually have Krishna's association all the time. So if I go a little bit back to the purport, I took out a number of elements Srila Prabhupada is mentioning there, So after the reference to the Chatusloki in Bhagavatam and the Chatusloki in Bhagavad-gītā, Srila Prabhupada made a great emphasis on the parampara system, so that actually the knowledge has to come down to the parampara system. And if it's coming down to the parampara system, it's presented in the proper way. Krishna wanted to actually share it with all living entities. And Srila Prabhupada goes off strongly as many times towards the impersonalist on one hand, that Krishna is a person, but also here to the grammarians, he calls them, the wranglers, Srila Prabhupada says, who try to actually interpret these slokas and the whole Bhagavatam in a different meaning, And he reminds us that, of course, we have to approach a guru, and we have to serve him because he has realized the knowledge, and he's competent to teach us in the proper principles of devotional service, And Srila Prabhupada mentions specifically that without service, there will be no realization of knowledge. So it's, on one hand, is to approach a spiritual master, but on the other hand, we have to do devotional service. And in this connection, Srila Prabhupada says that complete knowledge can be realized, And if you follow the instructions, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of the spiritual master, at the same time combined with the knowledge given in the scriptures, then we are able to come to this brahma-bhūta platform. The brahma-bhūta platform, where you understand our only service is to serve Krishna, and we lose every connection, every desire to actually to any sense gratification, because we realize the higher level, so we are completely disconnected to the lower level of this material attachment, And Srila Prabhupada explains that this Brahma-bhūta platform is the part where it leads then finally to complete love for Krishna, And the scriptures say that on the Brahma-bhūta platform, real devotional service starts, because then there we are purified. We have lost every connection to material sense gratification. So what I wanted to share here in addition is that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the two lines at the end of this slide, it refers that Brahma shared this knowledge to Narada Muni. So Krishna shared this knowledge with Brahma. Brahma shared it with Narada Muni, and Narada Muni shared this with Vyasadeva. And that's actually the way the parampara system started. So here, if you can see, is a little picture of the parampara system we find in Bhagavad-gītā. Just before the first sloka of Bhagavad-gītā, Srila Prabhupada had listed for us the parampara system. And here, what we just experienced in this part of Bhagavatam, it starts with Krishna answering Brahma's question. And he shares with Brahma this ultimate knowledge. And Brahma then, with his son Narada Muni, is the next level. Narada Muni enlivens Vyasadeva actually to write Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and shares with him this knowledge. And from there, the whole parampara system continues until we see to Srila Prabhupada, and for some of us as disciples of gurus of disciples of Srila Prabhupada, of course, on the next level. So the parampara system explained here in this way. These are my little understanding of the Chatusloki. I wanted to share a little lila at the end before we go for comments and questions. I don't know if any of you are following either Dhuma Maharaj. Since 1 year, he's giving regular classes, the Vrindaban classes, and he all tries to inspire us to hanker for Vrindavan, you know, this ultimate Goloka Vrindavan representation in this material world. And he recently actually have presented different leelas, you know, and I hope I can recite it as good as I memorize. So the leela I was recently looking at, so all these videos are on YouTube, by the way, in the Jumna Maharaj Vrindavan classes, you know. And he has also made so many classes on the different deities of Vrindavan. They had to be moved to different other places when the Mughal actually attacked them and so on. So it's a very interesting series and really connects us deeper in our heart to Krishna and to Vrindavan itself. So this little Leela is about the stolen ring of Radharani. She had one very special ring which was given her by her mother, and this was a very precious gift for her. So once in the autumn time, Radharani had a desire to learn additional ways to dance, you know, and she asked Lalita to arrange that the best teachers of the teachers, Krishna, would actually train her in additional dances. So this was arranged, and finally it happened. You know, the gopis, of course, have been preparing Srimati Radharani in the best way to could, you know, with all the jewelry and all the clothing and so on. So, and Radharani was meeting Krishna at the Jamuna river, and Krishna started to actually train her in different dances, and Radharani was completely happy, first of all, to have the association of Krishna, on the other hand, of course, to have Krishna's association so directly, you know, and they had a very intimate time there together for quite a while. And they finally left each other. But when Radharani came back and the gopis started to undress Radharani and take off all the jewelry, they found out that the ring was missing, you know. And there was a big mystery. How can you lose your ring? You know, the ring is your finger. It's not something you can get loose like your bangles or something else, you know. So the conclusion was right away, it can only be Krishna, you know. Who else could actually take your ring, you know? So then they have been, of course, meditating how to get back this ring, what to really do, you know. And Lalita proposed, you know, we have to revenge Krishna, you know, we have to do something really special. So some days after, they knew, of course, that Krishna after lunch would take actually a nap, you know. And so they said, okay, let's find out when this is happening and where Krishna is actually today, and let's go there and we steal something from him, you know. So the gopis with Radharani, they went there. Radharani was a little cautious and a little hesitant, you know, how can she steal from Krishna? But Lalita was so dedicated that we need revenge, you know. So they went there, and happily they found Krishna and Sudama actually sleeping. Sudama was partially sleeping over Krishna with his legs because he really don't want it to miss when Krishna would get up and go back to the cowherd boys, you know. So the gopis would actually approach Krishna and Sudama, and they actually stole his peacock feather, his black chadar, and his flute. And they could slowly move out of the place, and they've been so happy that, oh wow, today they had actually revenged Krishna. So when Krishna was waking up, of course, right away he found out what happened today, you know. Who was stealing? Who could even dare to do that and steal my black chadar, my peacock feather, and my flute, you know. And Krishna was with Sudama thinking about what can we do, you know. It must be for sure the gopis who have done that, you know. How can we actually get them back? So they have been meditating over some days, you know, and so one day they decided that they will actually transform them in very old ladies who are hankering so much to see Krishna. And they will go to Radharani's palace and actually cry out for Krishna. So that's what they did, you know. So the two of them, they went there and, they completely appeared as very serious, devoted ladies. And they have been crying out for Krishna. We haven't seen Krishna for days. Where is Krishna? And so on. And Radharani would hear that, you know, and Lalita would come to Radharani and say, you know, what should we do, you know? So Radharani said, you know, we have to go out and see how can we help them, you know. So they went to see to the gate of the palace, you know, and they understood, you know, they are really serious ladies, and they are hankering so much and suffering so much because they don't have Krishna's association. So they discussed with each other, what should we do? So finally they came to the conclusion, actually, we should Radharani, you should be dressed up as Krishna and you should give them darshan, so then for sure they will be happy. So that's what happened. So they went back to Radharani's room, dressed up Radharani as Krishna with the black chadar and the peacock feather and the flute, you know. And they went to the gate and actually Radharani was appearing as Krishna, and they wanted to pacify the two ladies. But Krishna right away took the opportunity and he get caught of the three items which have been stolen from him, you know, the peacock feather, the flute, and this black chadar. And of course they made them understand that it's Krishna and Sudama who came back to get back his three items, you know. And as usual, there had been a quarrel at the beginning, but as usual, a very happy end where Krishna and Radharani had association, and everything was, of course, to their satisfaction. So I just wanted to share this little lila today. And of course, Radharani kept the ring because they stole it from Krishna when he was sleeping. He had in his actually, what is the right word to see, in his kurta. So they actually took out the ring, and Radharani had then the ring back. So everything was back to where it belongs. Yeah. Thank you so much for attending today. Are there any comments, questions?
I'll say one thing that I was thinking of when we were reading the third chapter sloki, when Krishna was talking about how I'm inside of everything, but I'm outside of everything. I also heard that somewhere I was reading or listening, and we accomplish the same thing in a crude way when we have a child. We have a child, it develops inside of us, comes outside of us, and it is considered and understood that we are that child, but then we're also not at the same time. So that same kind of mystic power in a crude way extends to us as well too, because everything in the universe descends from in the same way. It's whatever occurs in the macrocosm occurs in the microcosm as well too, in the same way the material elements move.
Thank you for that. I never heard that before, but thank you. Mother Chaishri.
Yeah, as far as the Indradumna Swami presentations on YouTube, they're actually fascinating, and you really learn a lot. Like he was talking about Govinda, the deity Govinda, how he was carved, and then how he was lost. There's like 8 or 9 different classes on it, and how who Aurangzeb was, how he, I mean, to the detail, how he attacked Vrindaban, how the pujaris found out he was going to attack, how they hid the deities in the mud of different lagoons and different in the forest, and then they were taken by bullock cart, and it took 25 or 50 years for the deities who left Vrindavan to make it finally to Jaipur, and how the city of Jaipur was specifically built by the Hindu king to protect those deities. It's fascinating. That's stuff that you aren't going to hear anywhere. So I highly recommend to listen to those. They're fascinating.
Thank you for reminding us. And, so Govinda went in different stages to actually Jaipur, And what is interesting that, the king was living up in the castle, the one we visit, most of us most probably went to Jaipur. We went up to the castle on the hill and we visit there, And the temple in Jaipur was not so far from the castle. It was between the castle and actually the new city, But then the Jairaj decided to build this new city, with palaces and, all the nice buildings and so on. And then Govinda came to him and said, you're building this city for you, but where I am, I want to also be in the city. And then the Raj built the temple, the current temple where Govindaji is, in front of his palace, that he could see from his palace actually, or have darshan constantly, because he would just see Govindaji directly from his palace, So it's interesting that there was before another temple, and then the Lord came to him and said, no, I want to be in your city too, in your new city. And then the final temple, the temple where Govindaji is today, actually was built, And as you said, it's so fascinating, the different steps, where Govindaji was brought from the mud where they actually protected him when they heard about the attack, then to the first part and the second part, the third part, and finally to actually the temple where he is nowadays, So it's very, very interesting to know. And as you said, Dumna Maharaj shares so many details. And he gets his knowledge from the Vrindaban Institute, So they have, I don't remember, he says 100,000 or 300,000, I don't remember exact documents, And so many authentic documents from the Acharyas, from the 6 Goswamis, and also from the secretaries of the kings. Because the king had always a secretary, and the secretary would write down whatever the king would do, a little bit in the way Srila Prabhupada, that the secretary always had a mic, and whatever Srila Prabhupada would say, what actually was recorded, And these scriptures are there in this Vrindavan Institute, And he always comes back with some, at least myself, details I never heard before, because he refers to these different documents which are actually in this institute, I think, based on what we learn, it's an incredible source of knowledge for the Vaishnavas, about our history and about the different topics which happened in the past, And of course also about the other side of the Muslim, how they attacked, specifically the one, the deities, And I forgot the name, but the one before was so favorable to the Vaishnavas because his wife, one of his wives, was a Vaishnavi, and he was so favorable, and he supported that the Govindaji temple was built, this incredible temple on 4 levels. But then the next one was completely the opposite, and he was going completely after the Vaishnavas and destroyed the temple as much as he could.
So he was in Mathura, and all of a sudden he was being attacked by like thousands of bees, and there was lightning striking, and he became very fearful. And he said to his scribe or whoever was with him, why is this happening? And he said, sir, it must be because of your attack on the pious Hindu temples, specifically Govindaji. So he immediately stopped them taking down any more of the Govindaji temple. That's why it's partly taken down, but he didn't finish because he became actually afraid. It's, anyway, definitely worth listening to.
Thank you so much. Mother Malati?
In terms of history, particularly about the Muslim/Vaishnav/Hindu history, Stephen Knapp, a.k.a. Srinandananda Prabhu, has some fascinating books and histories. You can find it on, just look it up on the internet.
Thank you so much. Prantara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.